Hey everybody, it's me again, Jose Segura, your SMEA president. Welcome to another Fun Fact Friday fireside chat next to a real fire, 2 times in a row. All right, got a lot to cover, so let's get started. Here we go. Let's start with something fun, right? The first fun facts. So my first fun fact is, I love this one. If you bang your head against the wall for an hour, you will burn 150 calories. Yeah. You would think you'd burn more, right? No, 150. All right, so this one I love too. So 7% of Americans, people in America believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if we just thought of it as 7%. But 7% of the US population is like 22 million people. That's a lot of people who think chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Something to think about. All right, and I love this one. So every state in the U.S. uses third grade reading proficiency scores to determine how many jail beds they're going to need in their state prisons in the future. Now, here's the amazing part of this fun fact. The fact is that it's not a fact at all. This is completely false. There's no state in America that uses third grade reading scores for anything up to and including how many jail beds they're going to use. So that is not a fact at all. Boom, there you go. All right, so let's get to the meat of this. Suspension. So this is my second fun fact, right? This one is lengthy. There's a lot in this one, right? I would really suggest you go back to the text version that this video is attached to and really kind of read through it, right? As always, suspensions of students from school or from class is never a first step, right? We want to go through all of our in-house or in-class progressive discipline processes before we get to a place where we start to consider potentially suspending a student. So we're going to talk about suspension from class by the teacher, not suspension from school by the principal. So those are our 2 different types of suspensions, right? Suspension from class, that's done by the classroom teacher. Suspension from school, that's what an administrator does. So you have the right to suspend from your class. It's for the day of the suspendable offense and the next. You are required to make an attempt to contact the parent or legal guardian and set up some kind of a meeting to discuss the incidents that occurred that led up to the suspension. But you are not required to meet with the parent. You're only required to attempt to meet with the parent. So if they can't meet with you, if their schedule's too busy, if they just refuse to meet, or whatever the reasons are, you're not required to meet with that parent. You're required to make an attempt to meet with that parent. All right, so take a look at, this is Ed Code 48910. So 48910 is your right to suspend. Ed Code 48900 is suspensions from school and all the different suspendable offenses that are out there. All right. So there's that. Let me just hit some of the highlights here. It says, okay, the teacher is often asked, what are my rights when I have a student in my room who does not respond to my traditional rewards, consequences, and progressive discipline? I've tried everything. What can I do? And as I said, it's always about collaborating with your site administrator to try and determine what it is the 2 of you can do to help this student become as successful and productive as possible in class. But California Education Code Section 48910 is your right to suspend. So here's what people need to know. You can suspend any student at any time, regardless of their general ed or special ed, from your classroom. Now, administrators might tell you, well, you can only suspend for so many days, only 20 days in a year, only 10 days for special ed. Those are real numbers, but those numbers only apply to suspensions from school by an administrator. They do not apply to suspensions from the classroom. I know this because I've asked this question year after year with the district, and they want us to think that classroom suspensions also apply to these limits, but there's no evidence of that. Now, if a district wants to use classroom suspensions and school suspensions and use those together to reach numbers like 10 for a special ed student in order to trigger a manifestation determination meeting, well, that's up to them. They could totally do that if they want. But technically speaking, there is no limit to classroom suspensions. There is limits to suspensions from school. So keep that in mind, right? So please go back to the text version of this and take a read, bookmark this, do whatever you need to do, because this is language you're going to probably come back to, or there's going to be somebody at your site or at your grade level who's going to ask you about suspensions, and you can have the resources, boom, right there at your fingertips. Okay, so that is that. Let's move on to our third fun fact. So what's our third fun fact? Elementary prep days. So you remember that we got those 6 days? That's right, 6 days, 6 days, 6 days. One a month, 6 different months. On a Thursday, minimum day, when the students leave, the balance of that day defaults to the teacher. That's your time in the elementary world to prepare. Nobody can schedule meetings for you. They can ask you to do something. They can't force you into grade level collaboration. They can't call you into meetings like PLCs or SSTs or MTSS meetings or whatever, site leadership. Nope. It's for you to prepare. A little bit of extra time for you to prepare. Now, at the end of the regular contract day, so over at Miller School, my contract day ends at 2:40. At that point, I can decide if I want to stay at my school site and continue to prepare, or if I want to call it a day and move on. You cannot be required to stay till 4 p.m. or some other made-up number. You have the right to end your workday after that prep period is over. And that prep period ends at the end of your contract day. That's it. All right, there's no other version of that. That's it. Okay, so that was fun fact number 3. Fourth fun fact, here we go. If Pinocchio says, "My nose will grow now," that would cause a paradox. So you thinkers out there, think about that. This is actually just called the Pinocchio's paradox. If Pinocchio says, "My nose will grow now," that will cause a paradox. All right? Think about it. Why would that cause a paradox? Think about it. If it's true, what happens? If it's not true, what? Discuss that amongst yourselves. All right. The next thing is that an eagle, I actually saw a video of this, can kill a young deer and carry it away. That's just how badass eagles are. So the moral of that tale is don't mess with an eagle because they're awesome and they will mess you up. So yeah, that's a great fun fact. I love that one. All right, and last but not least, look, I think I'm going to be under 10 minutes. Oh, that's awesome. I have a movie TV series recommendation. So this is on Hulu. It's called 11/22/63, which is the date of the John F. Kennedy assassination. It is a 8-part series on Hulu, and it stars James Franco, and essentially the premise of the film is James Franco is a time-traveling English teacher. That's right, James Franco as an English teacher. He goes back to 1960 via a time machine that is in the closet of a roadside diner. Stay with me. His goal is to make it all the way to November of 1963 so he can prevent the assassination of JFK by killing Lee Harvey Oswald. Or is it? Now, seems weird, seems kind of boring, but it's really exciting. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it's an 8-part, so it's start to finish. There's no, season 2 version of this. This is based off of a Stephen King story. The whole production is executive produced by both Stephen King and J.J. Abrams, famous J.J. Abrams. And I think James Franco's got an executive producer credit in this as well because, he's James Franco. So, if you like James Franco, if you like the Stephen King stories, if you're a fan of J.J. Abrams, if you like time travel, if you're a fan of English teachers, if you're a fan of history, this has got everything. There's a love story in there, so if you're a fan of love stories, if you're a fan of watching people make bad choices, that's in this series as well. So, there you go, right? Those are our fun facts for today. I really want you to focus on the language, or I'm asking that you focus on the language for suspension from the classroom by a teacher. Oh, and by the way, if a teacher wants to suspend a student from class for any of the offenses, including willful defiance, which is like the K defense, or K offense, you have a right to do it, and nobody can tell you can't. All right? That's your right. Principal does not make the decision. Administrators do not make that decision. It's the classroom teacher's decision to make. And also, if I suspend a student from my classroom for those 2 days, my principal cannot place them in somebody else's classroom. That is a violation of ed code. It's actually in the law, which you can read if you click on the link in the email that I sent you. So if you are asked to take a student, the first question you should ask is this student being suspended from class by the teacher? If the answer is yes, then you should not take that student into your classroom, because it is a violation of ed code. That student needs to either remain in the office, they need to be sent home, or if you're at a junior high, if you have a designated on-campus suspension space where they can go, then they can go there. But they cannot go into a regular ed classroom, and just to make things easier for administration. All right? Hey, I didn't write the laws. I'm just telling you what they are. Okay, that's it, everybody. We'll see you soon. Have a great weekend. And yeah, bye, everyone.